Well, hello and welcome to the Archeryshack podcast. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm TJ.
And we've got a special guest today.
And I'm Kris from Archery America Outdoor Chronicles.
Man, we're excited to have Kris here. We're going to talk about all kind of fun stuff. Hopefully y'all can bear with us. But Kris is the son-in-law of a taxidermist I've known since I was a kid. And I've known Kris for a good while now. And he lives right down the road, so that's a good plus. He's got a beard, and he's got the pot belly like me, so we're good.
I love my pot belly.
I bet when you walk into Walmart, women just go crazy.
Of course, man. I've got more money in this figure than Kim Kardashian does in hers.
Man. You've got implants.
No, it's all natural.
Oh, man. Whoa. We can make some money off of this podcast. So tell us a little bit about Archery America and what you do and all that type of thing.
Well, I'm the social media director. I run part of the Facebook page, some of the website, and the Instagram page. We also branched out and took over a couple other little pages that I also run. They're kind of brand specific, so I won't mention those, but we are a group of hunters from all over the country. We've got guys in Wisconsin. We've got a family in Wisconsin that's on board with us now. Kentucky, Ohio. We've got a guy from Indiana. Several people in Ohio. And we met over social media. We all share the same likes, the same ethics, and we've just all worked together and kind of built a nice little brand that we're trying to promote.
I see y'all post a lot. If you're watching or listening, definitely go to Archery. How can they find you on Facebook? Just type in Archery America and you should.
Archery America Outdoor Chronicles usually brings us up. We've got a hashtag for Team AAOC. And same thing on Instagram, it's archery.america. And then hashtag Team AAOC. Hashtag AAOC, which is what we started with, has kind of turned into a little rice tuner type program where there's a lot of other things under that one, but Team AAOC kind of brings up a lot of our posts.
Gotcha. Very cool. Do you want to, how do I word it? What is like the general purpose of AAOC?
We just want to promote hunting in an ethical manner. That's one of our big things is you have to abide by the laws, you have to do things right, and you have to do things safe.
Yeah, and that's actually something I had wrote down that we talked about earlier, was talking about safety a little bit. I know I got 2 or 3 friends now that took some falls from tree stand, didn't have on a safety harness. Actually one did, but it was old and dry rotted and all this, and his lock-on broke. The strap caught, but then when it caught, it broke and it like flipped him, and it was, anyway, they had to airlift him out and all this stuff. Another buddy didn't have on the safety harness, same story on the lock on. Actually, he was just here a while ago, Kris Powell, and fell 22 feet, said he was texting somebody and boom, on the ground, same story, has rods in his legs and all kind of bad stuff. But you sent me an article talking about, you tell them about that article.
Well, Chuck fell 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Out at Fance Grove, stepped out on his platform, and both cables broke, and he went down. No harness. I was at work. He was trying to call me. I couldn't answer. He finally, he tried to call Gwen. She didn't hear the phone ringing, so he ended up actually pretty much just crawling back to the truck. He was okay.
Man.
His ankles were a little swollen for a couple of days, but he was lucky. He was really lucky.
Yeah.
We put that stand out like 2 weeks before that, and the cables looked fine then.
Man.
So you never know.
I used to always never wear a safety harness, and then past 10 years, I'm like, okay, this is legit.
Yeah. Until Archery America came along, I hardly ever wore safety harnesses, but I mean, growing up, we hunted out of wooden deer stands. So you never. We didn't really have harnesses back then.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But along the lines of that article, there's a guy hunting, made a good shot on a deer, thought it was dead. He tracks it, walks up on it, deer jumps up and kills him. That's the second time I've heard of something real similar happen. A couple years ago, guy, he didn't get killed, but he ended up with a nice gash across his head. But
Yeah, I know there was a picture that this week as well. Like you say, this guy had a huge gash. Now they killed the deer. It didn't kill him,
yeah,
but it tore him up. And then Scott Harper, when I was probably 15, 13, I don't know, that runs Harper's Meats up here, he had shot a deer. Didn't have a gun on him, just thought it was dead. Went and put their stuff in the truck, here's the deer alive. He jumps on the deer, tries to drown it in the creek, and it tore him. He was in the hospital. I mean, it tore him from like the back of his neck all the way down to his butt. I'm talking deep. So he's wrestling this deer for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes while somebody runs and grabs a gun to shoot it, and it tore him up. But I hate to hear that guy died.
Yeah.
And I've seen it all over Facebook this week, but it's something else. But there's a lot of stuff. You know, a girl, when I was teaching surgical technology, a girl was hunting down the lower part of the state with dogs and all that, and they were walking. Her buddy didn't have the safety on her gun, tripped and shot her and killed her right there on the spot. And that was something else. But there's just so much stuff to be careful about when you hunt. You know, if you're up in the tree stand, wear a safety belt, safety harness. If you got, you know, a gun, keep safety on. I don't gun hunt anymore, just bow hunt. But you know, I wouldn't even put one in the chamber till I got up there just to be safe. But
yeah, I've never understood that. As a matter of fact, last night at work, one of my coworkers was telling me about her son's tattoo. Her son has a tattoo of one of his buddies' names with a cross from when he was younger. Kid was on the back of a four-wheeler, and deer ran out across in front of the four-wheeler, had a muzzle loader across his lap, and somehow it shot him in the face. But just like the girl tripping, we actually had that happen in Anderson 2 years ago.
really,
Up off of it was off 5 Points, I think.
man, that's something else. That is something else. But definitely be safe. And what I hate about it is not only people get hurt or die, but it just draws more bad attention to the hunting community. You know what I mean? Because you already got all these crazy folks trying to do all these weird laws, but.
Yeah,
anyway.
Accidents can happen anytime, anywhere.
Yep.
It's the nature of the beast. You're dealing with live ammo.
Yep.
Anything can happen, so be as safe as you can be.
Agreed.
Especially when it's something that can be preventable, kind of like a fall.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got your harness on, you fall, you'll be safe. And there's no excuse not to be wearing harnesses now because
I mean,
they're
like
cheap now.
That and like the hunter safety system so much more comfortable than what there used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, you just pretty much strap on a vest, and it's nice, but.
I mean, it's got like where the straps come up around your legs. It's got actual like seatbelt buckles on.
Yep.
And it don't take 2 seconds to put it on. It ain't like the old stuff where it was like, oh, how does this thing even go? But
And they make them for kids.
Yep.
I just got one from X Stands for Brooklyn.
mm-hmm.
So she can start sitting in the stand with me, and it's got like built-in safety whistles, and they come. I think that one MSRP's for like $89, but they've got some lower end ones that start at 40. I think you can get them on Amazon for like 45.
Man, I've seen a lot of people in just random groups on Facebook. People are talking about it, and they're like, "Hey, I've got backups. If you need one, we'll just send it to you." And there's plenty of people like that, you know.
That's one of the best things about the hunting community.
I mean, I really think too is you really can't put a price tag on your safety.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I agree.
I mean, I almost had a bad fall out of the stand, and I wasn't wearing a harness. But as soon as that happened, I never wore a harness. I can remember climbing 20 foot in the air,
me too.
an old big shot buck stand, laid my feet up on the bars and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Never thought nothing else about it.
Yeah.
And then I had almost fell, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It
Yeah.
don't matter if it costs $200. I'm gonna spend it. It's money well spent.
I'd be curious to know if you're watching on YouTube, who's had a close call or even fell that's watching. Tell us the story in the comments. I'd be curious to read it. But it seems like in the past, I've told this on here before, but there's a local pro shooter 10, 15 years ago, and his brother fell out of a tree stand. And Dan, you know, was a half mile away, and here comes a helicopter in. His brother crawled to the road, flagged somebody down. They call the ambulance. They end up sending a helicopter. They're down in McCormick, out in the middle of nowhere. Dan's hunting. And here comes a helicopter in, and he's like, well, this is probably bad, you know, so by the time he gets back to the truck, everybody's gone. And the brother had the keys, so he's out in the middle of nowhere. knows his brother's been airlifted, you know, so he has to flag down somebody to get a ride, to get a, you know, call somebody. It's a mess. But yeah, tell us in the comments what you've had happen. Let's change the subject a little bit and talk about scents. A couple people texted in. We mentioned it last week. Kris knows a lot about scents. What did the people tell us last week, T-Bob?
You know, the consensus of all the comments and everything was, you know, everybody uses cover scents. We had one guy text in. I don't think he left a name or anything, but he said that whenever the rut starts kicking in, he's using like estrus scent, doe and heat, you know.
And it's complicated a little bit more this year in South Carolina because they said, hey, if it's not a local, a South Carolina deer, then you can't use an out-of-state, you know, urine pretty much. And they're trying to prevent the transmission of diseases and stuff like that. So I guess I understand it the more I've researched it. But what all have you heard and dealt with in the scent world?
Well, just piggybacking off of that aspect of it with the new laws, if you harvest a deer, you can take the urine or the glands out of it, but that has to be a local deer.
Yeah.
And if it comes from one of your major manufacturers, it has to be a synthetic.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of great synthetics out there. Me and a few of our other buddies, I think, are going to be going with some nose down scents.
I met about them.
Yeah, I met those guys over in Georgia. Jason Caldwell. He's been around in the industry for years, running with another company. He's broke off and created Nose Down, and it's,
cool.
they're exploding on the scene right now. And I could not tell the difference between their dopey and their synthetic when I was smelling in person.
Gotcha.
I know deer smells a whole lot better than mine, but
I like to drink them.
Just kidding. It's funny that you mentioned that.
T69.
Yeah.
We had at Archery America, we had a sponsor that put theirs in what looked like a little mini bottle.
Oh man.
And he set it up. It had a black label. Set it up, and it looked identical to a mini bottle of Jack Daniels. But I stopped using those when one of those froze and exploded in the back of my truck one day.
I got a good story about that. Me and this girl I used to work with at Bucks and Bath got into a messing with each other's car thing, and finally I was like, I'm gonna end this once and for all. So I put some deer pee in it and put it in a needle, stuck it through her door jamb or whatever, and I squirted it. It was hot in the middle of the summer. I squirted it in her floorboard. She opened that door up that evening. She was like, good God. And I was like, what happened? I never, to this day, have not told her. Hopefully she don't listen to this, but
She does now.
Yeah,
Yep.
what I did. But I walked over there like, you know, never acted like I knew what I was. I was like, man, something's died in here. But it was bad. There's a ton of deer scent companies out there now. I mean, I don't know that there's a bad one. I mean, I've tinkered with all kinds of different stuff and a lot of cover scent. Like the people texted in mostly said, I think that they use like a earth scent.
Earth scent.
Yeah. We got the local boys making that smoke scent and all that, and this went over well. But as far as synthetic deer pee goes, there's a million companies now doing it. So
As far as cover scents go, I want to warn you: be careful of the gear that you're wearing. A lot of your carbon alloy based garments, like Scent Lock, is mostly carbon based. If you spray a scent, like a cover scent on that, it will actually absorb those instead of covering your scent. So it makes your gear less effective.
Gotcha.
Now the blocker line, most of Scent Blocker, they're more of the S3 technology, which is more of a antimicrobial. Those seem to be a little bit more receptive to your cover scents. You can spray those. They still don't recommend it, but you can. It doesn't absorb it like the carbon stuff does. So
Gotcha.
just make sure you're not running carbon if you want to run your cover scents.
We had some questions come in on our channel and through different things. I think TJ's looked them up over here. Let's run through a couple of them.
This one we get a bunch, and it's always a misconception. Air spine. What is air spine?
We do hear this a lot. So here's exactly what it is. People come in and are like, I want a 400 grain arrow, but what they mean is they want a 400 spine
Oh,
arrow.
yeah.
So what it is the manufacturer at a 28-inch span hangs a 1.94 pound weight, which equals 880 grains in the middle. And how much that arrow flexes, let's say it flexes a half inch, so that's a 500 spine, all right? So that's a weaker spine. If it flexes 0.300, that's a 300 spine, so it's stiffer, heavier. I don't know how many people come in all the time and say, I need a 340 grain arrow, and we look at them like, used to we'd be like, well, you need it exactly 340 grain? They're like, no, it says it on it. We're like, oh, you need it, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's exactly what it is. So the more it flexes, the lighter it's going to be, and for the lighter poundage bow it's going to be. You know, if it don't flex much, then it's for a stout bow. Pretty much is where that's headed. But that's it. 28-inch span, 1.94 pound weight in the middle, and that's how they got spine checkers now to see, you know, how close a dozen is and all that. And I'm sure there's when they do them at the factory, I think they do it with lasers and all this. I'm sure they sort them quick, but that's what it is, arrow spine. And then just to talk a little bit more about it real quick, we got a thing here at the shop. We hang a weight from them on a ball bearing, and we can find the stiff spine, because like in a carbon arrow or an aluminum arrow, the aluminum arrow actually has a weld down it on the inside, but a carbon arrow, which is more common of course, is fibers overlap. So somewhere on that arrow there's going to be a little more overlap where the resin and all's got the fibers held. So we can put it on this device we got and find the weakest and stiffest part of the arrow and make sure the whole 6 or dozen or whatever you got, you know, or the cock feathers on that same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it don't make a whole lot of difference, but I've seen a little. We had one guy come in, his bow was tuning weird, and I did that and reflexed a couple arrows, and all of a sudden we got the same tears in the same group, so it worked. But that's the long story short.
Are aluminum arrows still available?
They are not as widely available as before. I mean, back in the day, everybody was shooting like a 21-17, a 22-19, all them heavy, crazy arrows, and now, you know, Easton's pretty much the aluminum arrow people. You can still get them. I see a lot of them for indoor, like a 27-12, but I don't know the last time I've seen somebody hunting with an aluminum arrow.
No, it's been
It's been a while since I've seen it.
I saw a Facebook post, might have been January, February, somewhere in there. Somebody was shooting aluminum, running the old feathers like you were talking about last week.
Yeah.
And he was asking if he could switch the feathers over to your some of your fletchings.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody just
Yes. I hadn't had anybody ask for an aluminum in years. We build the occasional indoor arrow for people, but other than that, I almost would want to shoot some just to be different once. But you can get some weight out of aluminum, you know, and they're good stuff. It's just.
What about something like an FMJ?
That's true. I guess we could talk about that. You know, and that's for. I'm sure most of y'all know, but it's you got the FMJ that's got aluminum outside, carbon core, and then you got like an ACC, which is the opposite. It's a carbon outside, aluminum core. You can still technically bend them, but they're tough. They're good arrows. That guy was here a while ago. That's what we was tuning his bow with, FMJs, but real good stuff. I don't know of anybody other than Easton that has done anything with aluminum, right?
Yes.
The only other arrow company is Victory.
They got
came
that
out with
mesh,
that
yeah.
Extortion, I think it
Yeah.
was. They had that
Aluminum mesh
aluminum
embedded.
mesh. Yeah.
I wanted to play with some lemon. I might have a demo one in there, but I never got any.
Me neither.
Kind of forgot about it. But I hadn't heard about it either.
I hadn't either. I know we've done this back in the day, but does anyone use peanut butter as a deer attractant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't done it in a while, but it worked. It really works.
It does.
I just remember you got to get it up high enough, or you'll have raccoons and everything else standing up there. I remember we got a case of peanut butter. Me and my daddy did. I was probably only 10 or 12, but we screwed the lids of them things, all these trees, and put them up, cut them out the bottom, and good God, they were eating. Deer were chomping at it. Well, everything else was too, but
Yeah.
You can still walk through Fence Grove and see those all over the place. Jars screwed up.
Dang peanut butter, it's a good cheap trick, you know what I mean?
I was told, and I don't know, but somebody told me at one point that not to use a nail or a screw or something when you put the lid in, because it would have the adverse effect. Deer wouldn't touch it. I ain't never.
I've never got that deep into it.
No.
Me neither. Somebody told me that at one time because I told them I was going to put some peanut butter out. They said, "Well, don't use this." I'm like, "Why does it matter? They're gonna smell the peanut butter."
Somebody, I don't remember who it was now, back in Bucks and Bass days, could get there must be somewhere around here that bottle or makes does whatever peanut butter. But I remember they could get boxes and crates and big things of it for cheap. But I don't remember who it was. And it was like the defect, something was wrong with the package. But I remember they brought me a whole case of it, and I was like, man. But
I've used Kool-Aid too.
really,
Yeah.
I had never tried that.
Well, a lot of your manufacturers now are starting to put flavor scents or flavors into their minerals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got several deer on camera from the last time I used them. From within 2 to 3 hours of pouring out one of the little tubs of grape Kool-Aid.
Really,
And they were tearing it up.
I've heard people using Gatorade,
Yeah.
really.
the powdered Gatorade mix.
Yeah, that'd be. It at least has some minerals in it.
Speaking of Kool-Aid, this is something off topic. I seen a guy on Facebook this week was dyeing his feathers somehow or another with Kool-Aid. I didn't read up or ask how he was doing it, but he had some nice looking feathers. I guess he was just maybe putting a little water with it and dipping them in it. I don't know, but he had all kind of different colors. He'd made some feathers.
And then the last question we got is, what's the best way to film a hunt?
That could get complicated.
Very.
I guess let's start with the easiest possible thing, your cell phone. Everybody's got a cell phone. Actually, the majority of the cameras in here are cell phones for this podcast, but you can get little mounts for a cell phone for a couple bucks off eBay, and then you can get an arm or however you wanted to do it, and just record. Now, cell phones at night or when it gets dark ain't that great. And then we see a lot of like GoPro style cameras coming here on bows. They don't work that great because you don't zoom them really. And then you got the Tacticam. You can zoom some of those, but they're still, the problem with a camera on a bow is it's so shaky.
Yeah.
And after the shot, if you don't follow the deer, all you see is a big whoosh of craziness. So I guess the best way to do it would probably be to spend, let me back up again. You could buy like a handy cam, still not great at night, but it would work, and it can zoom for about $200. And then you really want to get some stuff, you get like a A7S or whatever, this $1,500, $2,000, and they really work good at night. But
I think there's a company, is it Campbell, that
Yeah, Campbell cameras. They've been around for years. They about 3 years ago they almost folded, and they had a big resurgence out of that, and they're coming back strong now.
I know they sell complete packages and everything. I looked into them one time, but
They can save a lot of money buying one of their packages. And, they give you the tree arms. They'll give you the other mounts, bags, SD cards, everything you need to get out there. Most of theirs they'll send you. They'll go ahead and throw in the wrap with it too, so you can wrap your camera in camo.
yeah. The weird, I know a couple of people come in here that film hunts, but I don't know that I've seen it. I know you got to get everything on video right, but I haven't seen much local video that's been put out. I think back in the day, I had an old, I don't remember what kind of camcorder, but I took it with me and a doe came out, and I was like, I'm gonna get this thing on camera, and I got it all positioned right over my head, and I drew back, and it was one of the old ones with the tape, and that joker went dead, and I used to, I guess, or it ran out of tape, I guess. It would rewind when it ran out of tape, and that thing said, doo-doo-doo, and that doe looked up at me and was gone, and I was like, all right, this is the end of my filming. But I've thought about recently getting back into it, or maybe going and filming somebody else, because I'd have just as much fun doing that as anything else. But
yeah, I'm using a Canon Vixia to film most of mine. I haven't really done much this year, but we also, with Archery America, we also have our YouTube channel, and we have several hunts on that and just about everybody in there runs usually the Canon line. they're not the world's most expensive and they're not the world's cheapest. They're good all around cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They're tough. You can beat the crap out of them. And
I know for a while, I don't think they still have it, but Walmart had a camo camcorder for $200-300. I don't remember who made it, but I remember it was popular, and people were just adding that external microphone with a little fluff thing to.
yeah, you can pick up external mics for $10-15. There's no reason not to run one of those.
Yeah, that way you don't get all that wind noise and weird distorted stuff. But
yeah, I think the one I'm running on mine, I think was $30.
yeah,
And it looks like a big squirrel sitting up on top of my camera. So anybody or a deer comes by and sees me, it just sees that big old fluffy thing sitting up there.
hopefully it ain't squirrel mating season. They either go for that deer or the dead cat.
Funny you mentioned that. Mitch Distel up in Ohio, he's been I think every day this week he's had a picture of a squirrel sitting on a limb directly behind him, staring at him. It just sits there. It came and visited him 2 nights ago. He said it almost landed on his head.
Man, is that all our questions?
Yeah, that was all the questions we got.
If y'all are watching and want us to talk about something or want to whatever, just text us. We got a text line set up 843-560-9898. We got people starting to text us a good bit and say, hey, talk about safety or talk about this or that, and we usually try to follow that. You can also call it and leave a voicemail and we can go that route. But
We're still in the process of working on our live call in.
I just want it to sound good when we do it, but for now, if somebody leaves a voicemail, we can actually, download that and put it in the podcast, so it'll sound good. But for the most part, everybody don't want to do that. They just texting us, which is fine.
But we're still working on that.
You want to talk about our dry fire story from the week?
Oh man,
We had one let her fly this week.
yeah.
Right here where we're sitting almost.
Well, I mean, I didn't know the story because they came in.
2 bows came in, strings were off of them, no story behind them, well, whatever, maybe it's just old string. Well, comes back to pick them up, and
We're tying in the peep on one of them.
he gets the other one, and we hear,
Yeah.
like, somebody shot off a 22 in the shot. No, he didn't get hurt, and it didn't hurt the bow that we could tell, but good times.
He said that he was messing with his
That's right.
the set,
tension on his
the
release.
tension on his release.
Boom.
If you're messing with your tension on your release or anything,
Put
you
an arrow in it at least.
put an air in
But
your
even-
bow.
Or, get like a piece of loop and really pull on it, because you're still going to punch yourself in the head if it
Yeah.
goes off with an arrow, or you're going to kill the neighbor's cat or something.
I mean, just don't dry fire your bow.
It gave us some excitement at least.
If you punch yourself in the head, you at least have a good story to tell.
Yeah.
Don't shoot the neighbor's cat. It usually gets the
I
cops
had a lady I
called.
used to work with, and I sold her daughter, she was like 10, a Genesis bow, and she let one fly. They were in like a big neighborhood, and she was going to show grandma or whatever, and let one rip, and it went like 3 houses down and stuck in the top gable, like the roof or whatever, and they had to go there, and the neighbors wasn't home, and they had to get a ladder and get it out, and it was a big mess. But yeah, be careful.
But yeah, just always put an arrow in your bow if you're gonna draw it back for any reason. Just anything can happen. It's just like with a firearm or gun. Always point it in a safe direction,
Absolutely.
and just be safe about it. But
If you come to the shop, as you walk in, you'll probably see it, but there's an arrow in the roof of the front.
Yep.
And a kid had got a bow for Christmas, and he kept pulling it back with that finger in front of the trigger. And I was like, I even put my release on. I was like, pull it back like this. Once you get it back, then put your finger in. About 3 shots later, pow! Bloody nose. We got out there, couldn't even get it out of the woods.
it's still stuck up there.
Let's just leave it. People will laugh, But
Oh man.
let's talk about uphill, downhill shots. I had some people asking about that before. And like, what do I do when I'm shooting uphill versus downhill? And the rule of thumb is you got to add yardage shooting uphill and take away yardage shooting downhill. And I think a lot of people go hunting, shoot an extreme downhill shot and hit high, and then they're like, I don't know what happened. Gravity's working with you going downhill. You know what I mean? It's zooming.
Yeah.
So
That's why it's always good to practice in different situations. And you've set up courses out here where you've had stands out here where you can shoot out of your stand. So it's just practice in every situation.
The good thing is, a lot of these new rangefinders have the
Art
art
technology.
stuff, so it'll say, hey, here's the yardage, but you need to shoot it for this, and it actually works pretty good. and it'll tell you what degree it is, up or downhill, and all that type of stuff. But
And I know there's a couple out there that when you range it, it don't put the angle, it just tells you what it is
Yeah.
with the angle already built in, so that's pretty slick.
and I think almost everybody's shooting. I can talk using a rangefinder now.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when it was it was nice if you had a rangefinder, but now everybody's got one.
Yeah, I'm rangefinderless right now.
Uh-oh.
Mine's still in the woods from last year, and I didn't realize it till my first hunt this year.
May it rest in peace.
May it rest in peace.
And you know, I was always told it was 20 feet or higher that you had to, whenever, you know, that the Pythagorean theorem come into effect. Anything under 20, you could pretty much,
Yeah.
you know, it's still the same, but you still want to, you know, climb your stand
Yeah.
and just take a couple practice shots, make sure everything's
Oh
on.
yeah, because it's gonna be different.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be something different. The last thing I wrote down to talk about was getting kids into archery. There's a lot of, well, for one, a lot of the schools have gotten the NASP program now. You know, they use the Genesis bows, and it's like a program at school, and they shoot, and it's, I think it's good. And we get a few of those kids in a year. I think that's one good thing. There's a ton of programs I've heard about, you know, the S3DA and the this and that, but definitely think anything you got local, wherever you're at, listening, you know, to help kids out, if you can help them or whatever you can do to get kids into archery. And most kids love it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like something they can do, but you know, and you got some kids, I had some kids out here we were coaching a couple years ago, and they pretty much told me, they said, we don't really want to play football, we don't want to play basketball and all this other stuff, but they just fell in love with archery, so they took it and ran with it.
It's still not the world's most popular sport,
I know.
and there's scholarship money out there available. You can go to college on real scholarship money through archery.
I know the S3DA, I mean, I don't know a ton about them, but I know they have a program where you can get all the scholarship money. So, I think it's cool. There's, what is it, Emmanuel College in Georgia?
Emmanuel.
They have a program and you can get a scholarship. I mean, they got a full-on archery program. It's pretty neat. I do have one more thing that was texted in, and the guy said, what's the lightest arrow I can shoot out of my bow? So that's a good question. 5 grains per pound is a rule of thumb. So, you know, figure out what poundage you're shooting times 5, and that's the lightest arrow you should shoot. Now, it's gonna be the noisiest, you know what I mean? Like the lighter the arrow, the more racket you're gonna make and all that stuff. But we still have people come in, they got to have the fastest possible thing. So a little heavier arrow usually quietens your bow down. But yeah, 5 grains per pound. You know, IBO speed is a 70-pound bow and a 350 grain arrow. So it's
Well, you know, now companies are starting to make, like Black Eagle makes the carnivores. They call it their speed hunting arrow. So, I mean, you might have to go up in spine a little bit, but it's still a little bit lighter weight carbon than a standard, like an outlaw.
yeah.
So, I mean,
And pretty much if you go lighter than that, it's almost like sort of dry firing your bow, you know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say.
You don't want to blow, you definitely don't want to like shoot a 70-pound bow with way too weak of a spine and blow the arrow up in your arm.
Yep.
yeah.
I've seen lots of pictures of that happening too.
Lately, I have too.
People trying to get more speed, and it's.
We talked about, I think before, but always flex those carbon arrows and check your knocks and all that, because the littlest of hairline cracks, when all that pressure is applied to the back of it, kaboom.
Yep.
Or if you're shooting groups, you know, your buddies and they're all slapping together, flex them, and usually if you flex them, you'll hear it crack, or it'll identify itself.
I've had a knock fly apart on me, and it wasn't a good feeling.
Yeah.
I felt some stuff hit my finger, and I was scared to look. It took me a few minutes before I finally got the nerve to look at my hand.
Yeah.
And I was blessed, to say the least. I had one little scratch going up my index finger, but other than that, I was pretty good.
It'll scare you. I've had some knocks break and different stuff, and like you say, you don't even want to look. It's just like, man, what if I'm bleeding, you know? But I've had the occasional thing hit me in the face or whatever, but I remember we had that guy didn't have his peep sight tied in one time. I forget, it was some weird peep sight, and he fired it off in here. We got a metal roof, and that thing was in here. Bong, bing, bada, bong, bong. Luckily, it didn't hit none of us, but there's just all kind of stuff. Back to the safety thing.
Yep.
Y'all were talking about the biscuit last week, and I think I went in there and commented on it, but along the same lines of being hit, that actually happened to me. I had an arrow cock and popped my finger. Fletching went all the way down my index finger, and that hurt.
I bet.
That hurt, but I was shooting a 4-fletch, and you've got that in the center of a biscuit. You've got that little triangle at the bottom, and those bristles are a little bit tougher.
Black bristles are stouter.
So that's actually what caused my transition over to a drop away rest.
Man.
It's when I think I ended up going with, I can't even remember the name of that rest. One of the cheapest drop away rests there is.
Yeah.
I love that rest though. It's a little on the loud side.
Yeah, that's a mess. But anytime something don't sound right or knock breaks, which is not that common, but it scares you because you're just kind of like,
And a lot of people, you know, when we say flat, you know, check the back of yours at the knock and check your knock.
well, and like if you got a wrap, you know, take a real good look, and then technically you should probably run your wrap about a 1/4 inch from the back of the arrow so you can see that carbon, but most people don't, which, you know, that's just normal. But
That's the first time I heard that.
and then I know some lighted knocks, I can't remember what brand it was a couple years ago, but people were having them kind of start opening up, and so when they pull back, the knot wouldn't be seated in the string good, and you know, so just check everything out, make sure it's legit. Well, we appreciate y'all listening. Chris, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
I'm sure we'll have you back at some point, and
I enjoyed it.
hope everybody's having a good hunting season that's listening. And we'll, if you're watching on YouTube, we'd appreciate you to click the subscribe button. Check out Archery America. Subscribe to them on Facebook and YouTube and everything. And until next time, we will talk to y'all later.
Y'all have a good one.